As quickly as you can, snatch the pebbles from my hand. When you take the pebble from my hand, it will be time for you to leave.
Welcome back. Enter the Last Dragon. Your host, Roy Robb. We back with another one. It's been a little minute with my friend, Brittney Cloudy. She's about to drop some dimes, drop some information. The Quiet Storm is going to give you everything that you missed out on the first episode and more. So I'm going to start first with just saying, Brittney, how are you?
I am doing all right, given everything that's going on. I mean, I am happy, I'm blessed. I mean, I can't complain. So I'm here. I'm glad that I'm talking with you.
So new listeners, let me introduce her. She is a woman who has done many things from my hometown, St. Louis, Missouri, but she now resides in, I'm going to say, the best area for temperature. I'm going to say one of the great states that people are most jealous of, California. Very expensive, but tell us what you're doing out in Cali as a quick recap, who you are, so my first-time listeners.
Okay, well, my name is Brittney Cloudy. I am a professional MMA fighter. I'm originally from St. Louis, and I moved out here to Irvine, California to continue pursuing MMA. So I am training full-time and looking to make my strides towards UFC. So
it's going to happen. It's going to happen. Hear my words. I said it first. Probably not first, but it's going to happen. So with that being said, Brittney, tell my listeners what's good. You recently had a fight. I saw the fight. I was extremely upset with the call. Go ahead. Let's just break it down. It went all rounds. Kind of give us a quick breakdown of your last fight. In your opinion, first round, second round, third round. What was your overall opinion?
Well, I've talked about this a lot and I thought about it a lot because definitely going into a lot of fights, I really take the time to think about how it could all go down. And when I first accepted this fight, I didn't really hesitate about it. I was like, all right, this is going to be a good one. This is going to be a good momentum fight for me.
Stop right there. Why is that? Stop right there. Why would it be a good momentum fight? Because of what? She is what and what you are. Tell me why was it a good fight? We need to know that. Build this up for us.
Well, I would say that my last opponent, the promotion, they were really building her up, and so they're setting her up to, be in the UFC. She was 4-1. She went on a 4-fight win streak, and she's like the face of, like this new face. I don't know, maybe you want to relate her to, say that she's like Holly Holm, or, the next something like that coming through,
Right,
she's
right.
A collegiate athlete, she has all these accolades and everything like that. And, me, I'm just the person that they call to come in to, give her a fight so that she can go on about her business and make her way on up. So
that right there. Okay, so new listeners, individuals who have never fought before, individuals who may not know. Sometimes promoters, marketing managers, individual, what I would call just gym owners as well. Sometimes set up fights for their fighters to put them in position to make it to the next level. And whether it's what they would assume to be a stepping stone fight, build-up fight, whatever the case may be, they position their fighters in the best position way possible, especially if they're trying to build someone up and they have a lot of money backing them. So continue on with your story.
I mean, well, from their perspective, like you were saying, I would say that I would be a great win to have for her to like prove that, she's legit, like here's another fellow collegiate athlete, myself, track runner and everything. And she's, I come off a 2-fight winning streak. So, from their angle, that'll be a good win for her.
Extremely good. That builds this whole thing up. I noticed when I first watched your fight, even the commentators was like, these are two collegiate athletes. Look at the athleticism. Look at this. And they were really talking about how almost as if women fighters 5-10 years ago were nowhere near what you guys were inside of that cage. And they were like, hey, look, these women are going to be in the UFC. Like, they position this fight in around that kind of discussion from not even the first round, but like, ding, soon as the bell rings, that's where the conversation was going. So I immediately stepped back, and being a viewer, felt a certain type of way to say, okay, what's really going on? Now, let's also talk about advantages before we continue the story. Where was the fight held?
Yeah, so I already knew that I was going to be walking into Texas, her home state. There were already discrepancies going on with like Texas and their judging at the previous UFC fight, and so there was already that cloud of, all right, you know that you're the underdog, you know that you're going into someone else's hometown, and you know I'm going there with just my coach with me, and that feeling of like, you know, you got to go in here and finish this fight, because if you leave it to the judges, you know, it could possibly not go your way. Well, possibly is not even really the appropriate word to use, but you know,
That's
so
huge. Golly. Keep going. I'm sorry. That's
yeah. So that was, I mean, so that was the thought that, you know, that I had in my mind going into it. Like, I know that that's what I'm walking into. Like, I know that's what's up. So I had every thought in my mind and intention, like, all right, I got to go and finish this fight, you know? So she had all of that. But for me, honestly, I kind of like being the underdog in a sense, like, I don't have that pressure. I don't have that pressure. I'm just gonna go in and do, because I mean, I know what I have, and I know how I've been training, and I know who I am. So I walked in there and I had just that piece of confidence with me, you know.
So that's an interesting viewpoint. So from the initial bail on, there was a little bit of relief because you didn't have that, hey, I'm in the hometown. Hey, I have to pull this win off because everybody's watching me. But there was also another angle. That other angle was like, I have to finish her to win, though. So it's kind of like, did it balance itself out, you think? Or was it just kind of like, I was okay with the way the fight was positioned in general with those two dynamics going on?
Well, I think for starters, like, I think most fighters have the mindset. Well, for me, I think that finishing a fight is obviously, it shows that not only are you better than that person, but you didn't need all of the time to finish them.
Right.
If there was anything, any type of finish that you want to go in there and be undisputed. Like, there's no argument about it. Like, I finished it and it's a wrap, you know? So I want that for the sake of being able to say that.
Right.
But the conflicting part of it is, which is because of all these other variables that seem to work against people that they bring in for, you know, the certain fighters that they're, you know, promoting, that you have this pressure to finish. And if you want to take a win, like, it can't be close.
Now, did you, in your opinion, did you feel in the first round only, in this first round, not the second and third, how did you feel like, how did you feel coming out the gate? Because I feel like y'all didn't really get into the movement, get into her athleticism initially. How do you feel she felt striking, stand-up wise, feeling her out? How did it feel compared to your other fights?
Well, this was my first fight as a professional at bantamweight. So all my other professional fights were at flyweight. So it was always this thought of, all right, so let's see how I'm going to feel at bantamweight.
Break the weight down so the listeners know bantamweight is this versus that. Break that down.
All right. So originally I was fighting flyweight, which is 125, and bantamweight is 135.
Okay.
So,
thank you.
So I'm fighting at 135, so much better, because I felt like it was more of my my natural weight class to be in. And my whole fight camp, I train. I'm kind of like, I'm the biggest female at Team Oyama, and so all of my whole fighting camp was with the guys. So
Right.
I've been training with all the guys, grinding it out with them. So like just that taxing of having to put my hands on like a bigger body, picking up heavy and stronger guys. My coach was like, man, by the time that you feel her, she's gonna feel like, like nothing.
Right.
And I couldn't. So after that first round, I was like, you know what? He was right.
So speak to that, like, because that's where I felt like you were like, you guys were sizing up the distance at the beginning of that first round, but by the time we got to the end of the first round, it wasn't like it didn't seem like you were phased at all. Is that a good statement?
Yeah, like I felt like after that first round, I was like, okay, I got to feel what she felt like, because a lot of it coming into it was like, she looks really strong, she's really muscular and everything, and I'm like, well, I know personally, like, I'm not as ripped, I'm more lean and long, but I'm a lot stronger than I look. So sometimes, like, when you're like fit, eyeballing the fighter and you're like, man, they look really strong, you kind of have this idea in your head of what they may feel like, but you never really know until you actually are in there. So
right.
That first round, like, grappling with her, and I was like, all right, I'm not, what's the word? I'm not out of match with this. Like, like, my strength and her strength, like,
This
she's
was
not,
okay.
yeah, she's not overpowering me in any of these positions.
So now let's
So
speak to the second round, which I clearly know it was a whole, in my mind, it was like, okay, that's done. The fight's over with, because I felt like it was a couple times in that second round. I want to say there was a couple grappling exchanges where even and I know you had some frustrations during that time, but it seemed like you did a lot of the right things. I just felt like there was no confusion. Second round is yours. Like, I felt there was no, and correct me if I'm wrong in that statement. What's your opinion?
that was the round that was like disputed, because like at the end of the round with the armbar, like, that was just the end of the round. So I'm not quite sure how they could weigh that in her favor because of, the armbar. But majority of the round, I feel like I picked up the pace, and I feel like I was definitely, the whole fight, I feel like I was more of the aggressor, so I had
Right.
to be. And so I really feel like I was definitely winning that round just up into that last part, which
It
so
was
I'm
like
not.
literally 10 seconds. So for that armbar, it was literally nothing. But once again, I felt it was you that got am I missing it? I'm trying to recall for sure. You guys were against the cage and you turned her. And maybe I'm mixing up the second and third round, but the exchange happened where ultimately you guys ended up on the ground. Or am I speaking to the third round? Help clarify which round I'm talking about, because you ended up, I know the third round you ended up on her back, taking her back.
Yeah, that was the second round, because I remember she was on her back, and then
Okay.
it was such a weird position when she had her legs spread all open, and because that was right before the armbar attempt.
Exactly. Okay,
The
so I'm not
second
mixing it
round.
up. Okay.
Yeah.
So according to the judges, in that, this is where my frustration comes. Okay, so you see what I'm saying? That's where. Oh my God. Okay, so according to the judges, that's the round that favored for her to pull the chain. Is that what you're saying? Because you would have more official knowledge than I have.
Yeah, I've heard different things. Like, people felt like that was her round because of that, but then we were like, no, less than a minute of the rest of the round. So how can you give the round? How can you give the whole round to her for that?
What
So
What would you have done differently? Now that we've identified you did not get that win only because of some certain factors that you feel, hey, you should have finished her. But what would you have looking back? Would you change anything, or was this a good loss for you to take in your career?
Oh, well, the things that I think about that I could have, done better, or in those jujitsu situations, like for example, her in the guard, like I needed to pass. Like I needed to pass guard, whether it was in half guard, but to fall into her guard, like that was it. And I needed
Right.
to stay on top. So that was the first thing. And then the saddest part of the fight for me, I feel, was when I had her back, because in my mind I was like, this is it. I have to finish. This fight is too close.
It's over, right? You got
It's
her.
gonna be some BS if this is it right here. I'm on the back. This is exactly where I wanted to end up, because I was like, I'm gonna find my way to her back. I'm gonna find my way to her back. And then I found my way to her back. So then it was just these pieces of details of like just positioning. When I did get on her back, I needed to like have my hips more centered directly over her hips, so that's the cage. She was already able to get her back to the mat and turn into me. And so I wasn't able to really secure the choke all the way. So just that little piece of like positioning, like I needed to have that, because I didn't get my hand all the way behind her head. So then from there, it was like just a scramble and into an arm bar, which it was, it was a little slippery. I feel like she probably is pretty flexible with her arms and shoulders too. So I can expect her like getting out of the arm bar after that. But that was that moment right there. Like I needed to have that rear naked positioning.
So my thoughts is you did an amazing job. First off, you did an amazing job. It was a great fight. Hindsight is 2020, so I don't want you to feel discouraged about that. I like the fact that you were able to recap and identify some of the things that you felt could have finished her. But keep your focus. I don't think you made mistakes. I just felt like the situation, judging is just a hard, tough call. It's just tough no matter what. But I just want you to keep your head high. I'll say it like that. It was a great fight. Inner Last Dragons out there. Go check the fight out. It was roughly a month ago, a month and a half.
Yeah, it was just about a month ago, March 6th. Yeah.
March 6th, LFA. Go look it up. Check it out. You'll see what we are referencing. Now I kind of want to drive down this road and get your opinion. One of the greatest fights of all time. UFC for the ladies. Speak on it, man. Oh my God. Speak on this. Speak. Look, I'm gonna cross my arms on this and just shut up. Speak on it. Tell me you saw the fight and what's your opinion?
Well, first I was thinking about like what you said about like how I do feel like I had a really great fight. And as I look at like my first fight, my second fight, and then this fight that I just had, I'm like, man, I look a lot better. Like I can see my improvement, right?
You look great, yeah.
But then the next day, and we're watching the ladies fight, and I'm like, me and my teammate were like, man, we still have so far to go, because we're watching this, and we're like, bruh, like we have a little bitty phone, and like 6 of us are all sitting at the table watching the fight, and we're like, bro, it was like amazing, like highly technical, just speed and precision, and like just mind blowing. It was like to say that we're sitting here, we already know that this is a fight right here that we're going to talk about in the future, and when we look back, you remember that fight? Yeah, man, that was their fight. This fight goes down in history. It was
so I've never watched neither one of those ladies at all. So I need to say that first of all, they're not someone that I've been like, oh, I've been following XYZ. That fight showed up on my radar and so many others' radar after that. And these are veterans, as I'm understanding it. They are veterans, and you can tell, like, Joe was on there talking about, like, these ladies I mean, I can't even. I mean, I literally wanted to compare the shorter lady to be like a Jackie Chan, Jet Li mix up with
Mhm.
her accuracy because she was so accurate. I mean,
Yeah.
like when she nodded that lady's head up, and the first knot turned into 3, 4, 5 knots after that, and it just kept swelling. And I just said, it wasn't the fact that her head kept swelling, it was just the fact that she kept tagging her. And it wasn't like it was nothing she could do because the other girl was putting in work as well. I mean, it was just amazing. Like I
Yeah.
can't. I need to say their names to get them props. I was hoping. Do you know the names exactly so I can look them
How to
up?
pronounce it?
Yes. So like it's
Zhang and Joanna. Just
yes. Okay, yes. I'm glad you
look it
was
up.
able to do that
Yeah.
because I don't.
Uh,
I was about to go try to look it up, but I'm just like it's when I say it was one of the greatest fights of all time. We not talking any sex. We talking male and female, cat, dog. We talking animals. That mug was just on a whole nother level. What did you take from that fight from watching it? What some of the things you would add into your game, or what's something that you felt like you really enjoyed about watching it?
well, I mean, veterans to start. Like they've been doing this for a while, and you can tell. And when I look at when I think about my fight, because I watched that fight, and I was like, and I think I even posted about it. I was like, if I can get my hand speed, it's half as fast, or like my combos half as fast as either one of them without being physical.
Right, right, right.
Like, like that right there, and that's what it's all about. Like they both obviously came to fight, and they're both super talented fighters, and like man, they're like high class, and that's one thing that I really that was one of the biggest thing I really wanted to do in my fight is really put some combos together,
Right.
you know. But that fight right there was like, yeah, I lived vicariously through them through that fight.
Do you feel it was really good considering like Adesanya didn't have an amazing night that night? Adesanya really was just breaking him apart with his leg kicks, but other than that, it really was nothing for a main event. Even though it was a co-main event, I think. But what would you say to? I just feel like it was perfect because it went from so much excitement to the end. People falling. It was like falling asleep. It was like it was late. It was like nobody was even paying attention. What's your feelings about the way that transition to UFC? I feel like it just put so much more attention on women fighters. I was just excited. What's your thoughts?
Mhm. Yeah, I guess it was pretty anticlimactic for the main event.
Right.
But then sometimes like you get those fights where how the matchups are, and that's what kind of fight it turns out to be based on like how certain fighters choose to like strategically fight, and what's on the line. Um, but I was still happy with the night because like after that I was like, I was hoping to see like a lot more aggression and some like something big happening, some type of finish going on in the main event between Adesanya and Romero. But I don't know. I think that I couldn't tell you what was in their heads, but I feel like I don't know, maybe Adesanya was a little frustrated because like I don't know.
Do you
It
think
was
Adesanya shouldn't have won? I feel like Adesanya is my guy, and you have to beat the champ. What's your thoughts on that?
um, um I mean I mean yeah, I don't know. Like I feel like I guess I agree with it. It was just more so I can see how he was frustrated.
Oh,
Like,
he was
but
frustrated.
but like it was kind of funny because I mean Romero was like winning with like his whole like um his angle for the fight, but he didn't like turn it on and do enough to like really do enough to like take the win and like be on the
he clipped him with that like.
Yeah, he had those moments where you're like, oh man.
Right. He clipped him with like the weirdest overhead. It was so weird, but it was like you couldn't see it coming. And he Adesanya woke up like, okay, I'm cool. I'm not going after this dude. I'm not
He
risking
took him
myself.
serious after that, for real.
Yeah. All right. So now we need to talk serious. So we got to talk about what's going on, the climate of the fight world right now. Things have dramatically changed due to COVID-19, the coronavirus. Speak to that on what you're seeing right now. How have you been continuing to train? What are you doing as far as social distancing? And do you have any recommendations for people who are trying to still get good workouts in and still continue to level up?
Well, I feel like for me, with everything that's going on in the world, like it really didn't sink in. It took some time for it to really sink in that this is really happening. Like sometimes when things are happening and it's not close to you and it's not affecting you at that moment, that it's just like that's happening over there. But like as the days went on and the months and the weeks went on, and more people are impacted, more and more people are, talking about what's going on. We're seeing the seriousness behind it. We're seeing the people who are infected. We're hearing about the people's lives who are. It just says during this time of of people react differently in situations like this. And so now it's like we're quarantined in our homes and to help prevent the spread of all of this, which is be the best thing to do, but then it's like, well, how do you stay sane during this? Like, how do you cope? I read an article in the United States, like alcohol purchases in the last month are like 55%, and they're like, yeah, I'll be one of those who definitely, when they hit up the wine store, and you're like, all right, well, we stuck. And it's like, but at the same time, it's like, oh man, we have to cope in healthy ways too.
Right.
It's a grim situation. It's a sad situation. Like we're living through something that's going to be, spoken of in history books, and yeah, we have to I don't know, there's just a lot of moving pieces with it. So for me personally, I just think about as far as working out, thinking about just healthy things to do, ways to reconnect to things that you lost connection with during this time, and gratitude for things that we do have. Like, man, I said, it is amazing that during this time that we have technology, that we can still be connected from home,
Right.
And I feel like that's happening a lot. So all of the people are just taking to the internet, to social media, and really that has been a positive thing when it comes to, being able to connect with people when you can feel isolated by, being stuck at home or being at home.
Speak to that. You are in a fighter house, right?
Yes.
Speak to that. You're also, so I'm gonna talk to the fighter house thing first, and then we're gonna talk to being on a match and training and recommendations. In a fighter house, you're interacting with people all the time, and some of those individuals might be going in and out, maybe coming back from other places. How has that been? How have you coped with that? Is there any things that you had to deal with that is like, oh man, this was different? As much as you want to be able to, talk through.
Yeah. Well, it has been very difficult to I want to be in two different places at the same time, but I can't. So after my fight, I went home and it was already like very like kind of nerve-wracking to even consider going home. But then a part of me really wanted to be with my family for a while, you know. So I went home for a little bit, and then like I had a lot of nerves about coming back because, but then it's like at the same time, this is how we live, you know. We live with multiple, like there's multiple people who, you know, we live here, and just that kind of worrying about not wanting to um, bring something here, and it being a ripple effect elsewhere, and then we're all like, you know, coming and going, but we've been doing the as minimum as we can to ensure that we all stay healthy and making sure that we're being responsible as far as with that. But being here and living like we've all lived together, and it's definitely has been like nice to have people around, you know, like these are our people.
What is Irvine like in comparison to Missouri? How is it as far as the
Compared to St.
state
Louis.
being shut down? How is the differences on the location?
When when I was home in St. Louis, it seemed, I mean, I feel like it was pretty similar. Like there's many certain businesses that are not open, some businesses that are, people taking precautions of like how many people they're allowing in spaces, and just being more cognizant of like making sure we're washing hands and not directly coming and just trying to keep space. Here it's kind of the same thing. I would say that like this is like a suburban area out like from outside of like the main city, so it's not as much traffic, I would say, as like, you know, an inner city area. But it's still pretty kind of similar. There's a lot of people, you know, wearing the gloves and masks and things like
Right.
that. And so it's just kind of weird, you know, like this is like a new reality in the sense like you walk around and people are here, you know, glove, and it's just like wow, you're reminded of it on a daily.
Do you feel with the sport of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, wrestling, boxing, MMA, these are activity sports, basketball, football, every sport pretty much has this close contact,
Mhm.
breathing, bodily fluids with sweat. Um, to me, this is very tough to combat, in my opinion.
Mhm.
Are you guys doing things so different where you're just kind of staying away from mat work and just doing a lot of stand up separate from each other, a lot of road work? What are you seeing? What recommendations are you getting from your or what are you guys doing?
Yeah, I would just say like because of everything and the things that we don't know is we keep our distance but still try to, you know, get the best work that we can. So like been doing a lot of road work, a lot of running, a lot of strength and conditioning, maybe some pads and things like that. But it's just more of a time to kind of like tune into those other things that you can do individually that also, you know, helps you within the sport. So it's definitely been hard not being able to like, you know, really going through the grind day in and day out of the
Right.
grappling and all of that. So um that's just a part of where you really have to just remember to just keep focus on what the ultimate goal is, and you know this too shall pass. You know.
Will you speak to the so the new rumor? Don't know if it's true. I read somewhere that Dana White is considering an island to get have UFC fights every week. Or what did you hear about this? Like,
Yeah, I I mean, whew. I mean, I think from what I'm understanding is like he's trying to get it going, and he's willing to like get the international fighters to a place so that they can still host fights. And then there's other fights where it's at different places. Well, I can't remember exactly where, but they're finding, they're finding some little corners to turn to make this happen because people want to fight. And
Right.
so
I heard Khabib was stranded. He couldn't leave. I saw a post about that. I understand the idea. It's just like, what's the variables being weighed out? There's no audience. So it really would be just the pay-per-view. And people will be so excited because there's no sports right now. Like people would go bananas.
You know how many people will be tuned in?
Tuned in like crazy. But do you risk anyone's health and safety to get it done is the question.
Yeah. And that's the conflicting compass issue that's like, this is our livelihood. This is how people feed their families. And, I mean, that's along with a lot of other people who have lost their jobs and who are not working too. But then it's also like another way to look at it is like for the people who are willing to go into it. And I've heard
hazard pay.
Yeah, right. But I also feel that there's another topic that's been kind of spilling around is like we do MMA. We risk our lives every day.
That's true too.
So
you get hit in the temple the wrong way. That's true. You get kicked in the temple. That's so true.
Your spine, your neck, all of that, and
that's true.
So it comes down to how people view things and the risk that they're willing to
it's gonna be Gladiator UFC.
The show goes on, obviously.
It's gonna be Gladiator UFC. That's what it's gonna be. It's gonna be straight in the lion's den, and this is out of control. So now I gotta ask you, what are you doing outside of working out, outside of fun? What's keeping you sane? You're in the crib sometimes, extra hours. What's Brittney doing to stay sane? What's the sanity like?
Well, just like everyone else, I have been catching up on my Netflix shows. I don't even know why I watched that Tiger King show. I watched it because everybody else was watching. I probably would not have watched it normally.
Thank you. I ain't did it. I'm not doing it.
Watch it.
I'm not doing it. No freaking way, man. I ain't doing that.
But I watched it though, and I was like, oh my gosh, just because all the memes are funny because now I know what the story is behind it.
Is it good?
But, there's a lot of drama. There's definitely a lot of you'll get pulled into it. You just be like, wow.
I watched McMillions. I did McMillions, and now I'm on Ozarks. That's what I'm on.
Yeah, I'm watching Ozarks 2, season 3. Like, I like that show for sure. I'll watch that. I mean, watching shows, sometimes I get tired of shows or music. I mean, been catching up on reading some books and getting some good old yoga and just like self-care stuff, like
Downward dog. Okay. A little yoga. All right. Okay.
One of my sponsors is So Right. I've been using that a lot to, listen to.
Do you have their stuff? Do you have
things like that?
Do you have your this? Yeah, go show it off. Like, come on, this is you. Look at that. That's funny. You're comfortable. Hey.
Oh, yeah. I'm in the bed, man.
All right, tell us about that. What is that right there?
It's So Right. We use it for you can use it for a lot of different parts of your bodies. It helps with like increasing flexibility and mobility. Like they'll use it for your back, your lower back, your psoas muscles that are really tight, your glutes. Just kind of using it, laying on it, and helps relieve some different pressure points. And it's definitely something that I use to incorporate in my whole my body self-care routine. So shout out to So Right for real.
So I'll put that in the show notes. You got to send me the info because I don't know them. You know them, but I will put it all out there and I'll make sure you're tagged on it. Do you get anything? Do they sell that? How does that work? Do they sell that product you're talking about on a website or something? Will you send me
I
that
have their
too?
website, so right. Yeah. Yes, I can.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So this is what I have for you. I have one more request. I always do this at the end of my show. This is Roy's questions, Roy Rob show. I have to know for my trivia today. Name for me 2 all-time favorite books that you've read.
Well, I'm going to have to say I listened to the Audible of David Goggins, Can't Hurt Me. That book, amazing. I like, he has the Audible. I really like that. Actually, Adam Meredith definitely turned me on to that, especially the audio version, because it's kind of like a podcast too. So you kind of get more a little deeper look into the stories that he's telling in this book. But then he also, after each chapter, also gives you like homework assignments, things that you can do to like actually put it to work. And I love books like that, just like the mental strength. And man, if I thought that my mental strength was strong after listening to this guy, I'm like, man, I got a lot of work to do. So
okay, that's a compliment. I'm gonna check it out now. All right, what's number 2?
Let's see. I've read a handful of books. Oh, The Alchemist. Alchemist. Yes.
All right.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's how you pronounce it. I've heard a lot about it, and finally, I was like, let me see what this book is all about. I keep hearing about it, and it was such a refreshing book to read. As far as just like, I feel like anyone and everyone can relate to it, because it's about life and the journey of life and finding meaning to it and like your purpose and everything. And it was like, it definitely added to me, and I can read that book again whenever, you know.
So The Quiet Storm, thank you once again for blessing my podcast. Inner Last Dragon, dragons out there. I promise you, it's always great when we're able to get so much great knowledge and information when it comes to even the little stuff that you might not have caught on. Somebody might be able to take and say, oh, just the thought process behind, she wish she would have did X, Y, Z. How can I apply that to my fighting game? Whether it's one adjustment to my rear naked choke, getting my arm all the way in, whatever the case may be. You're always appreciated on my podcast. I want to make sure you get your flowers while you're on this earth. I see nothing but great things coming your way. It's gonna happen. Keep believing. I just can't wait till we get over this hump and all the craziness, so you can continue to shine and be that blessing to others as you've always been to us and the fans here at Inner Last Dragon. So thank you to you.
Thank you so much. I'm glad to be back and talking with you, and I can't wait for, you know, all of this to get past this, and then we can go forth and keep, you know, continue striving forth.
Exactly. Roy Rob, your host, Inner Last Dragon, signing out. Peace.